go ahead and get started, and as people come in, they'll just have to catch up. So if at any time you have any questions or anything, please, like I said, just feel free to unmute yourself or you can put it in the chat. Either one, doesn't matter. This is kind of a broad overview. So we're not going to go into a lot of detail because we would be here all night, but I want to give you some kind of overall bullet points for some holistic health remedies. And every one of these are things that I personally did myself. So I do want to make this disclaimer at the very beginning here. This presentation does provide information about natural healing options that may be used as adjuvant therapy to conventional medical care. Any information that is presented is intended to help you make informed decisions about your physical, emotional, and mental needs. It is not meant as a substitution for or to countermand the advice given to you by your physician. And please consult with your healthcare provider before you make any major changes. But I'd also like to add to that a lot of doctors do not have the education or training in a lot of these particular things. So they may look at you and be like, it'll be like a deer in the headlights, like they have no idea what you're even talking about. So, but consult with him anyway. All right, so a little bit about me. I am a certified holistic health practitioner. I have been one for about 25 years now. I'm also a clinical hormone therapy consultant, a Reiki master, a clinical hypnotherapist, and a few other little things just kind of thrown in there. I am a cervical cancer survivor. I was diagnosed in May of 2011, and I had no evidence of disease in August of 2011, which I will talk a little bit more about that as we go through this. I am the Charlotte chapter leader for the National Cervical Cancer Coalition, and I have been in that position now for probably 6 going on 7 years. I have made presentations and written things and been a consultant in the areas of holistic health and also with cervical cancer and treatments for cervical cancer. And currently, I am the co-founder of Authentic Inside and Out, which is an online community for messy female entrepreneurs. And my fabulous partner and best friend is Tina White, who's also on this call today. And an interesting side note is that we actually met as a result of cervical cancer. She was the Ohio chapter leader, and a friend of hers, daughter, had passed away from cervical cancer, and she led a very successful cervical cancer coalition chapter in Ohio, and that's how we met. And we've known each other now for probably 6, 7, maybe 8 years, and it's just kind of developed into a sister relationship and also business partners. So I'm super excited that she is on this call tonight. So why holistic remedies? Why do we even want to consider that? Hippocrates said, the natural force within each of us is the greatest healer of disease. And I absolutely love this. And my personal viewpoint is that God created everything that we need in order to heal ourselves. And whether it is through things such as plants or things even like our thoughts and our feelings and things like that, that force is what is going to help to heal your body. Because when you think about it, the doctor provides an environment for your body to heal, but your body will heal itself if it's given the proper things that it needs in order to do that. So there is a myth in traditional, I would say, Western medical practice that any symptom or disease affects one part of the body, but that is absolutely not true. The whole body is an energetic and physiological unit, and every biochemical and physical activity that you have going on in your body is all interconnected. And when one part is affected, then another part is affected as well. And so when you treat something, just one thing in the body, it's kind of like putting a little Band-Aid over that, but it doesn't really fix the whole problem. So looking at your health from a physical, emotional, and spiritual aspect is what helps to really get full and complete healing. And that is what I do as a holistic health practitioner, is I'm not looking at just one little thing. I look at the whole entire picture of what is going on with you and your body. Holistic does not mean that you eliminate traditional medical treatment. And I want to make that very clear, because some people will say, oh, well, you shouldn't do just holistic things. You know, you've got to have the other stuff that goes along with that. Well, my belief is, and I don't ever tell my clients to not go see their doctor. I tell them, you can first find out what it is that's going on with your body, and then you can explore other things that may be beneficial in healing that your traditional medical doctor here in our part of the world, they're taught to treat things more symptom-based and to fix that problem. So holistic kind of goes hand in hand. And when I was diagnosed, which I'll talk about in just a minute, I was kind of in a situation where I had absolutely no choice but to do traditional medical treatment. And however, I wanted to combine what I knew with that medical treatment. And as a result of that, I think I had a much more successful outcome than if I hadn't. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story. So I was diagnosed in May of 2011. It was Memorial Day weekend. I was diagnosed with stage 2B. However, my tumor was over 10 centimeters. I had the traditional treatment of 36 rounds of external radiation. I had 6 chemo treatments. I went into the hospital for, it was about a week, for the internal radiation or brachytherapy, which is where they implant the radiation rods inside your body. I then had a full hysterectomy, which I'll talk a little bit about a little bit later. I had 17 units of blood transfusions during my course of treatment. I was in the hospital a lot. I was very, very, very sick. The treatment made me so sick that I really couldn't function hardly at all. My husband had to push me around in a wheelchair. I couldn't work. It was a very bad situation. After my treatment, I had pretty bad PTSD from the treatment. Again, that kind of comes along, I think, with the whole where the oncologists have one goal, and that is to get rid of the cancer. And there's a whole lot of other stuff that goes along with this thing called cervical cancer, with the emotional and the mental and just everything there was, and it really affected me in a big way. I was NED, which is no evidence of disease, in August of 2011. So let's talk about the good stuff that I used during my treatment. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of these things in a little bit more detail. And then some of these we're not really going to talk about. I'm just going to kind of mention. I used herbal medicine. I used acupuncture. I used alkaline water. As a matter of fact, I, at that time, did not have an alkaline water machine, but I had a friend of mine who drove probably an hour, at least an hour one way, 3 times a week to bring me alkaline water. And I did drink alkaline water during my treatment. Aromatherapy, I used a lot. Visualization and affirmations, I used a lot. We'll talk about that. And whole food supplementation, which we'll talk about at the end. I also used therapeutic touch. Reiki is another form of therapeutic touch. Hospitals now have a lot of therapeutic touch practitioners. As a matter of fact, when I was in treatment, when I was starting my treatment, where I had my treatment was at the Levine Cancer Institute in Charlotte, North Carolina. And they were just kind of starting with the integrative medicine and holistic health approach. And I remember I was in chemo one day, and a little girl was going around with her little cart, and she had some essential oils, and I don't remember everything that she had, but I just remember that I was so excited to see her, because I just, I was like, oh my God, that's so fantastic. So I kind of probably monopolized most of her time, but nobody else really seemed to care a whole lot at that time. But now Levine actually has a whole integrative healing department, I guess, if you will. And my lead oncologist, who he actually retired soon after I got finished with my treatment, and not too long ago he decided to come back, and because he just couldn't stay away from all the fun stuff, and he is now in the integrative healing area. So it's really cool. So I'm really excited that he's doing that. And a lot of hospitals now are incorporating more and more of these things: acupuncture, aromatherapy, therapeutic touch. So they're beginning to kind of catch on. So the first thing we're going to talk about are some herbs. And these are some herbs that are specifically good for cervical cancer. And honestly, some of these things are really good just overall in general for health and cancer. Some of the ones that I have listed here, though, are specific more to cervical cancer. And the first one is curcumin, which a lot of you, I'm sure, have heard of turmeric, which is very popular now. And it's a spice. A lot of Indian food has turmeric in it. It's that spice that you probably have seen in the grocery store. And it is an amazing herb. It has anti-tumor, anti-cancer effects. It helps to regulate. It has the ability to actually regulate the gene expression, and it'll turn off the genes that promote cancer. So turmeric is very important. As a matter of fact, I have my turmeric tea, and you always want to combine turmeric with black pepper, because the black pepper helps it to absorb into your body better. So this is my tea with turmeric and black pepper. And then I have a little bit of oat milk that I use just because I like that kind of flavor. The second one is ginger root. Ginger root is very good for inflammation, particularly cervical cancer. So it helps with that inflammatory control. And it's just an amazing thing. It also, ginger is very good for nausea. So if you have nausea with your chemo and or radiation, you can get some little ginger chews or capsules or something like that to help with that, which we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later. Holy basil, thyme, and oregano. Those 3 herbs are very rich in ursolic acid, which is, again, another anti-inflammatory function for your body. And it suppresses the production of pro-angiogenic factors, and that influences the growth and also the continuation of those cancer cells. Next is green tea. And everybody's heard about green tea, I think, in the last few years. Antioxidant, it curbs inflammation, it helps your immune system. It's fabulous. Drinking green tea, you can take green tea capsules, you can drink it. I would recommend, especially if you're going through treatment, 4 or 5 cups of green tea. Make it your drink, make it your regular drink. Astragalus root. Astragalus is very good for, well, it's a very good herb for women. And it's, as you see, it's very popular in Chinese traditional medicine. And again, it targets that same pathway that is most targeted during chemotherapy. And it's a very good herb for cervical cancer. You can get astragalus root in combination with another herb that I don't have on here, which is ashwagandha. And ashwagandha is an adaptogen herb, which means that it will just kind of adapt to whatever it is that you need. And for women in particular, it's a very good herb for your mental health. So if you can get an astragalus root with an ashwagandha combined, that's a great combination. So next I want to talk a little bit about acupuncture. And what I'm going to do is this link goes to a PubMed article, and it was so long that I just didn't want to bore you with all of the details. However, the conclusion of the entire study was that acupuncture at certain pain points for the acupuncture itself were effective with cervical cancer patients after they had endured 14 days of treatment. I myself had acupuncture when I was going through treatment, and it was fabulous. It was fabulous. It helped with the pain. It helped a little bit with nausea, but it's very effective. And depending upon where you live and where you're getting your treatment, as I said before, a lot of hospitals are now incorporating acupuncture, and they may have someone available who can do acupuncture. So that's a really good one to help, because it helps to clear out those or open up those meridians and help that energy flow. And whenever you're sick, you have a blockage of energy. You just do. And so what acupuncture does is it helps to open up those channels and help that energy to flow through your body more readily, and it helps your body to heal. So the next thing I want to talk about is essential oils. And I absolutely love essential oils. When I first got into holistic health, when I first got into holistic health, I was doing a lot of hypnotherapy, and I used essential oils in conjunction with hypnotherapy. And a lot of the people that I was working with when I first started my holistic health practice were people with chronic diseases, and particularly women, depression, anxiety, and things like that. And I like the essential oils because it was kind of easy to get people to use them, because they typically, most of them, smell good and they have therapeutic values to them. which was kind of the benefit of, obviously, of using the essential oils, but people were like all over them because, oh yeah, this really smells great. So it was a pretty easy thing to get people to use essential oils. But Dr. Otto Warburg actually won a Nobel Prize for cancer research, and his whole thing was that human cells have an electrical frequency, and when you are sick, the electrical frequency in your body goes way down. It drops way down. And so the higher the frequency, the healthier you are. Okay. And so with essential oils are, the way I describe it is that they're kind of like the blood of the plant. And so when you take those essential, when you extract that oil from that plant, you're extracting that energy frequency from that plant. And certain plants have a higher vibrational frequency than others. For example, rose has a very high vibrational frequency, and it takes a lot of rose petals to make rose oil, and that can get kind of pricey. But things like frankincense, those things are very high in frequency. So the ones that I particularly like for cancer treatment, for nausea relief, we talked about ginger. So you can actually get a ginger essential oil. I have an actual oil that is it's called nausea relief. I found a company, gosh, 20 years ago when we first moved here. I had a health store here in the area, and we had gone to a big expo for health related kind of products, and I found a company there, and I have been I've worked through and with them ever since then, and they're fabulous. They're extremely high quality and not outrageously expensive like some essential oils that you may see. But one of the oils that they have is a nausea relief that I just carry around, and like I'm just sniffing it straight out of the bottle for nausea relief. And on that point, I will tell you that that was one of the worst things. Well, I don't know, there were so many worse things, but it was one of the bad things, was the nausea. And I was on 5 different nausea medications, and nothing really worked very well. And but the ginger worked very well. And something that I'm not talking about in this particular presentation is CBD, which I guess you could say, reintroduced to cannabis through my internal radiation oncology nurse because of the nausea. And at that time, CBD was starting to come out and getting more popular. And I grabbed hold of that, and I just was like, oh my God, this is the most incredible thing. And so I started doing extensive research on CBD, and I was just blown away with what I found, what I researched. It was absolutely incredible. So what I do now with people, in addition to what Tina and I do with our Authentic Inside and Out business, is work with people around CBD, and because it's just amazing. So if you are going through treatment and you have a really difficult time with nausea, I would highly recommend that you check out CBD, because it can help you in many different ways. But ginger can help with indigestion and nausea. Mandarin helps with indigestion. That tense breathing that you get, particularly when you're in a lot of pain, you'll get some really tense breathing going on, and muscle spasms. Mandarin's very good with that too. Peppermint is really good for nausea, headaches. It's very good for headaches. You get some headaches, indigestion, any kind of stress, motion sickness, things like that. Peppermint is one of my go-tos. Now, a lot of people like lavender. It's very calming, and I don't particularly like lavender, so I didn't really use it a whole lot. But if you like lavender and you can stand that smell, it's a good one as well. And then the ones that I would recommend for more of the emotional support, because that is something that's also very important, and it doesn't really get talked about as much, again, because the doctors are trying to eliminate that tumor. They're trying to eliminate that cancer, right? So I'm not sure that any one of my doctors ever asked me, well, how are you doing? You know, so because I was a complete and total mess, right? I was a mess. So these are some of the things that I would recommend for more of an emotional support to kind of help your nerves and help you stay calm. These are kind of blends that you could blend things together. So for example, if you're really wanting something for peace, you can blend chamomile, rose, and clary sage together. And a lot of stuff is kind of fun. Just play around with how many drops here and how many drops there, and just kind of play around until you get a combination that you really like. Vetiver, under safety, vetiver, vanilla, and frankincense. That's probably one of my favorite. Vetiver is a very grounding oil, and it's just it really makes you feel. It does really make you feel very safe, and I know that this illness, this disease can be. It's kind of invasive, and sometimes you may not feel so safe. So I think that is a great combination right there. Frankincense is just a great overall oil. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about visualization and affirmations. And I love this because every thought that you have is energy, really, for your body. And when you have negative thoughts, then it brings your energy and your vibration down. And I think that we can all know what that's like, because if you're around negative people a lot, then you start to feel really heavy and you don't feel good, and it's just it's very heavy. So visualization is something that I did a lot whenever I was having any kind of treatment and laying flat on my back, which was all the time pretty much. I visualized all the time. I went and had radiation. I was visualizing the whole time. I was visualizing this tumor is melting. This tumor is shrinking. This tumor is leaving my body. It's becoming smaller and smaller. All cancer cells are leaving my body and going back into the nothingness from where they came, because they came from nothing, right? You haven't always had these. You didn't always have cancer cells in your body, and you are not meant to have cancer cells in your body. So we can tell them, go away, you're leaving my body. And affirmations are very, very important. I would recommend putting them on little Post-it notes and putting them everywhere you see them. These are the same affirmations that I used. I am whole, perfect, and complete. I am healing every day. No matter how hard it is, I can do it. Nothing is impossible. And I actually used to tell myself, okay, I can do pretty much anything for a little bit, for however many minutes it's going to take. I can do this. I can do this for just this few minutes, because you have to kind of get yourself psyched up sometimes for some of this stuff. You really do. And the way you do that is by being positive and doing these affirmations and telling yourself these things over and over and over again. So here are some of my best tips so far. You want to mix with like-minded people. You want to rid yourself of toxic relationships because they're just going to make things not pleasant. And so if you have toxic relationships that you just like can't obviously leave forever, just leave them for a little while. I remember that when I was first diagnosed, I was at home and I hadn't started my treatment yet. And one of my best friends came over and she looked at me and I could see the fear in her face. And she said to me, "Aren't you scared?" And I was like, well, the way I kind of look at it is, well, now I know what's going on and I can do something about it. But I tried to kind of stay away from her while I was going through my treatment because, you know, I needed positive people. I needed people that believed that you're going to get through this. And I remember when my lead oncologist looked at me, got down in my face and looked me in the eye and said, "You're going to get through this." And trust me, there were times, and I'm sure you've been there too, that I thought, no, I'm not, but you can. So you want to adopt a new mantra. Yes, I can. You want to rest. Your body heals while you are resting. So make sure that you get plenty of rest. You do not have to be Superwoman. You do not have to take care of everything. I did nothing when I was going through my treatment. Now, the funny side thing here is that I used to watch the Food Network. I don't know why, because that's not really something that I do, but I watch the Food Network all the time. And I know my family probably thought, oh, she's going to watch the Food Network and then she's going to get all better and she's going to be this great cook and know how to do this. Well, no, that didn't happen. I don't know why I watched the Food Network, but I did. So you want to do what feels good to you. If you want to watch the Food Network, if you want to take a hot bath, if you want to just shut everything off, do that. You need to do what feels good to you. You want to find a community. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any community at all that was going through the same thing that I was going through. All I had were my doctors, my nurses, and we lived across the street from a church, and those people were amazing. And my friends, some of which are on here today, they were my community, and they took care of me. You know, the people across the street from the church drove me to the hospital every day, and people brought food and all those kind of things. But I didn't have a community of other women who had been through what I was going through. And that was, I wish that I'd had that. And so that's one of the reasons why I am doing this, is because I don't want women to go through what I went through with treatment, with even getting it in the first place. Cervical cancer is one of those cancers that is preventable and should be prevented and can be prevented, and women need to know that. Well, men as well, but that's a whole different thing. But find a community with like-minded women who can support you and give you guidance. But you also have to remember too that your journey is going to be different than someone else's journey. And just because someone else may have had a horrible time does not mean that you will too. So everyone is is different, but we're all in the same, the kind of the same boat, so to speak. And remember that it's your body. Okay. It's not your doctor's body. It's not your husband's body or your kids. It's your body. You speak up. And if something doesn't seem right, something doesn't feel right, you need to say something. Music is so healing. I cannot stress that enough. It's just very powerful, very therapeutic. Find some music that you like and listen to music. Ask for help. You cannot do everything that you would have normally done before this. You can't do that. And most likely, once you finish treatment, you're not going to be able to do all those things again. You may, but chances are you're not, because it just, excuse my language, but it beats the hell out of your body. Okay. Cancer beats the hell out of your body, and the treatment, it's going to beat you up. So ask for help. You cannot do it all by yourself. So this is the part that I really, really love. And I cannot stress enough how important it is, how important nutrition is for your body and your health, just in general. But I remember when I was right after I was diagnosed, and computers and technology is a great thing, and then it's not a great thing. I remember when I was actually in the hospital, being diagnosed, my husband gets on Google, and of course, then he's terrified because he reads all the bad stuff. And I remember when, just before I got into full treatment, I started doing some research to see, okay, how did this happen? Like, what causes cervical cancer? I mean, I know that HPV is the majority of cervical cancer cases. HPV is the cause. But I was curious, like, well, why is it that some women clear the virus and some women don't? And so it's very interesting what I found. And that was that, and you probably know some of these things. Smoking is a cause. We know that HPV is a sexually transmitted disease, but 85 to 90% of all people who are sexually active have HPV virus, but it is a virus. But these are two things that stood out to me that I did not know. Is number one was stress, and number two was a lack of fruits and vegetables. And as I've done more research with cervical cancer in particular, there is actually a direct link between fruits and vegetables and cervical cancer. And there's actually a link between cancer and fruits and vegetables in general. But why more specifically with cervical cancer, I don't really know that answer. But plants have these things called phytochemicals. Phyto means plants, and we know, you know what chemicals are. And this is what they do. They turn on enzymes in your body to help you detoxify carcinogens and other poisons. They inhibit enzymes that are responsible for cancer growth. They activate protective enzymes that stop cancer from spreading. They modify how carcinogens are detoxed. They act as free radical scavengers. They suppress the abnormal growth of precancerous lesions. They stimulate the immune system. They decrease platelet aggregation, and they exhibit antibacterial and antiviral activity. And the other thing to remember about plants is, remember when I was talking about essential oils, and I was telling you how essential oils have a high vibrational frequency. Certain plants have high vibrational frequencies. Well, fruits and vegetables are plants. So you are consuming living things. So instead of consuming things like meat and sugar and processed foods, those things are basically dead energy. They do absolutely nothing for you nutritionally. But plants, on the other hand, do amazing things in your body. I cannot emphasize enough how important they are. And I remember when any one of the chemo rooms or anything that I went into, big signs up on the bulletin board. First thing, eat fruits and vegetables, right? Eat fruits and vegetables. But did any nutritionist, any doctor ever tell me that? Ever tell me, make sure you're eating more fruits and vegetables? They never told me that. They told me that I should drink Gatorade and some, other things that were not particularly healthy, but never about plants. So I'm going to talk a couple of things that we typically, as cervical cancer or anybody who has pelvic radiation issues, some of the things that we problems that we have are bowel issues. Can be anything from constipation to diarrhea. So in general health, to avoid any kind of dairy products, any kind of milk products, any kind of dairy, that's just a number one health thing that I tell everybody. Don't drink milk. Just don't do it. Now, I'm okay with like yogurt, with probiotics. That's kind of okay, but milk, cheese, no, don't do that. You want to restore a more normal as we can get when we're going through radiation, all that GI environment with digestive enzymes, probiotics, and glutamine. And some of the beneficial herbs for this are peppermint oil, chamomile, rosemary, and valerian root. If you have severe diarrhea, you've got to consider that when you have severe diarrhea, you do not absorb the nutrients from your food as readily, because the food is going through your body so quickly that your body can't absorb it. So you can become very deficient with zinc and B12. And one thing to keep in mind is sometimes with B12, you need to have injection of B12, and not B12 sometimes is hard to absorb in your body. So you either want to do it sublingually, like under your tongue, or even do an injection. If you're having problems with constipation, which can happen if you're taking especially a lot of pain medication, you want to definitely avoid milk, drink lots of water, drink warm liquids prior to your meals. And the two herbs that are really good for constipation are senna and Cascara sagrada. Those, a lot of times you can find in capsule form, usually mixed together. And then specific issues, nausea and vomiting. Again, that I had that the whole entire time. You want to eat small, frequent meals, avoid fatty food, eat meals that are starchy and low in fat, like crackers. I always recommend crackers. Suck on root beer barrels, lemon drops, ice chips. You want to avoid foods with strong odors. Most likely your sense of smell and taste will change, especially if you're going through chemo. You want to avoid any kind of foods that give you heartburn. Manage your stress. Use ginger capsules. You can use those before and during chemo. And then the CBD oil, you can either do a tincture or you can do capsules, whichever one you prefer. So let's kind of look at a few little stats and facts. January of 2022, the CDC reported that only 10% of Americans eat enough fruits and vegetables. This is something that has blown me away for so long, but the United States actually ranks at the very bottom in indicators of mortality and life expectancy. So like basically what this is saying is that the health of the United States people is really bad compared to the other countries. And yet we exceed other countries in the amount of money that we spend on health. In 2020, the US healthcare spending grew 9.7%, reaching $4.1 trillion or $12,530 per person. Now, this is something that just was hard for me to wrap my head around. 1 in 2 women will develop cancer. 1 in 3 men will develop cancer. So the question is, okay, what do we do? How do we set ourselves up for the best future and the best possible outcome that we can? And why do we make excuses with the whole fruits and vegetables thing? Why is it that 90% of people do not get enough fruits and vegetables? Well, we don't want to try new fruits and vegetables. It can be expensive. It takes a long time sometimes. And like if you're juicing, a lot of stuff, it's a mess. It takes a long time. A lot of people are afraid of the chemicals and pesticides, the shelf life. How many times have you bought fresh produce and then it goes bad and you're throwing it away? And you'd be shocked at the amount of produce in particular that just gets thrown away. Or we don't like the taste, we don't like the texture. I'm like that. If I don't like the taste, I'm not going to eat it. And a lot of people they don't like certain textures. They're not going to eat those either. So what if there was a better way? Would you want to know? Well, that's one thing that I wanted to make sure that I let other women and other people know about this. So I'm going to tell you what I found that worked for me. This is my journey. Okay. So what I found was a company that is over 50 years old, a company whose mission is to inspire people to be healthy. And I mean, really healthy. I don't mean they just talk the talk. I mean, they walk the walk. Okay. A company that values quality over money, a company that has more peer-reviewed studies by major universities and medical centers than any other product like it in the world. A product that is not a supplement, is not a vitamin. It is a food, not a supplement. Okay. That's very, very important to understand. It's a product that is so impressive that major healthcare providers like Dr. Bill Sears, who was the pediatrician back in the day, and his son is on the show The Doctors, and he is also a proponent. Dr. David Katz, Dr. Richard Du Bois, Dr. Kim Dalzell, Dr. John Corcoran, Dr. Richard Bornow, Dr. David Phillips, and many, many, many more promote this product to their patients. As a matter of fact, some of these doctors, a lot of these doctors actually left their practice to promote this product on a full-time basis. Now, when I first heard about this product, I was like, no, no, I don't think so. Don't think so. Oh, wait, I forgot there's more. This is a product that gives free product to children to help them be healthy. It's a company that makes this easy, affordable, and convenient. Hippocrates said, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. You remember doctors take the Hippocratic Oath when they get their medical degree. Food can be a medicine, and medicine can be a food. Now, I'm not telling you not to take your medicine. I'm not telling you that at all. I would never say that. However, what I am telling you is that there's a lot more to the whole food thing than just it being something that tastes good or whatever. So the company is called Juice Plus, and Juice Plus is fruits and vegetables and berries. There's 3 different formulations, and they are in a capsule, y'all. They're in a capsule, okay? They're grown on local farms without pesticides. They're picked at their ripest moment. They're flash dried to a powder. They remove the sugar, they remove the water, they limit the fiber, and then they encapsulate it. And it's a combination of certain ones so that you get this synergistic combination of certain fruits and vegetables and berries. Like there are certain things in the berry blend that I wouldn't even know where to go and get them. I would have no idea. And they're in a capsule. It's not juicing. It's not that you go to the farmer's market and you buy all these plants and fruits and vegetables and I'm all over your counter. They're in a capsule, y'all. They're easy to take, convenient. Okay. Oh, and I want to give an honorable mention. They do have a product that's called an omega blend, which is a plant-based omega that helps support your vision, your brain, your heart, and it's sourced from plants and algae that the fish eat, that they make fish oil capsules from. And I resisted the omega for I don't know, probably a year or more when it first came out. I resisted it, right? And then I was having such bad dry eyes that I literally could hardly keep my eyes open. And I went to my eye doctor and she said, "Oh, you need an omega." And I'm like, "I do? Okay, I know where to get one." So I started taking that omega, and I tell you what, my dry eyes cleared up in probably 2 weeks, and I haven't had a problem with it since. And the more I read about how important omegas are, I will never stop taking that omega. So don't say never. Just, you can't ever say never. Oh, and they also have shakes and bars, which are plant-based, made without GMO. They're a good source of protein, a good source of fiber if you need fiber in your diet. And it's very convenient for if you're going through treatment where maybe you don't feel like eating a whole meal. Well, this gives you the actual nutrition that you would need that you don't really feel like getting. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what my results were as from taking just this particular thing in combination with all the other stuff that I was doing with my treatment. Because again, you got to remember, it was kind of a holistic thing, right? So I was actually introduced to Juice Plus 6 months prior to my diagnosis, and I took it regularly for 6 months. And when I was going through my treatment, I was so sick and nauseous that I barely ate anything. And I took Juice Plus as often as I could. I didn't take it as regularly as I had been, just because I was just like, I couldn't do anything. I had to have 17 units of blood during the course of my treatment. The whole reason that I was diagnosed in the first place was because I was hemorrhaging and they couldn't stop the bleeding. And I almost died before I even started treatment. So I had 17 units of blood. They told me that it would take at least 6 months for me to get my blood levels back to normal. It took me 6 weeks. They couldn't believe that my blood levels got that high that fast. That's just one thing. Here's the real miracle. So remember, I told you I had a tumor that was over 10 centimeters long, 10 centimeters big. Well, 2 weeks after my internal radiation, I was able to have a hysterectomy. They don't normally do hysterectomies on anything over a stage 1. They won't do hysterectomy. My lead oncologist, who had been, he had been a GYN oncologist for, I don't know, 30 something years. He and my internal radiation oncologist were the ones who did the surgery. Both of them said, we have never seen a tumor shrink that much that quickly. They could not believe it. Now, I don't know. I'm just telling you what I did and what the result was. I have no idea. But as a result, they were able to do a complete hysterectomy. And as a result of that, on August 26, 2011, I became no evidence of disease. So in closing, I just want to tell you a few things. Number one, be proactive with your health. You want to make the best decisions for you. You want to, and I want you to know that you are not alone. I want you to get tough, and I want you to do what you can. And I want you to do everything that you can to take care of your body. It's okay to be afraid. It is. It's absolutely okay to be afraid, and it's okay to cry. And girl, you got this. You can do this. So in closing, I want to also give you a couple of gifts. So first of all, I just want to say that if you have heard anything tonight that resonates with you, or you're like, yeah, I want to know more about that, I want you to put your email address in the chat, and I will get back in touch with you. If you have a question about anything, if you have a question about aromatherapy, if you have a question about herbs, if you have a question about Juice Plus, if you have a question about about anything with your treatment, put your email in the chat box, and I would love to connect with you. So what we're going to offer you tonight is a free discovery call with me and or my amazing business partner and best friend, Tina White. Oh, look at me. Tina, I misspelled your name. She's my grid worker. She's supposed to catch my mistakes. So, but it's Tina White. So we found it Authentic Inside and Out, and we are an online community for messy female entrepreneurs. Both of us were diagnosed this last year with ADHD, so we kind of know a little bit about being messy. But we do social media strategy. We do holistic health and holistic living. Tina is an expert in holistic environment and cleaning that up. And we also do business coaching. And we have a very special offer from one of our partners, which is on our next slide, my next slide. And then if you would like a handout for the focus foods that are very focused, particularly for cervical cancer, drop your email in there and I will get that over to you. So I want to tell you just real quickly, because we're running out of time here, but we have one of our partners is a incredible young lady who has created an app, which is a health related app, and it is now ready to go into the beta testing mode. And she is looking for beta testers. It is called Nate Go. And as you can see here, users will be able to track and record their meals, which will be archived for weekly and monthly and daily tracking. This opportunity allows one to become more familiar with what they eat on a daily basis and learn along the way. So we would love for you to be a beta tester, or she would love for you to be a beta tester. We would love that too. So if you would like to volunteer for that, absolutely free. And it'll go on for a little while. So just drop your email in the chat and we will get that information to you as well. And I just want to thank you so much. You know, the journey may be tough, guys. It may be, but you can do this. You absolutely can. Don't ever give up, and don't ever feel defeated, because you're loved more than you know. You really are. So it's my honor, my privilege to share my story with you and to share my knowledge with you as well. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate you being here. And if anybody has any questions, please if anybody has any questions, I guess, let me see, I can kind of take you, let's see, I can unmute you. So if you do have any questions, just unmute yourself and ask away.
Jane, I've got a question.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. And by the way, this was outstanding. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Wonderful information. First off, do you have a website for your Juice Plus?
I do have a website. Absolutely, I do.
Because, go ahead.
I would be happy to send that to anybody who would like that.
Yeah, or could you just put it in the chat, maybe?
I can. Yes, I sure can.
And I had heard, I'm familiar with Juice Plus, and I had heard that MD Anderson actually did a research study on Juice Plus and cancer.
They did one on Juice Plus and ovarian cancer, and it was outstanding. And they actually showed that basically taking the Juice Plus, so they had women who were taking Juice Plus, and then they had women who were eating just like whatever, and the women who were on the Juice Plus actually did much better with their cancer treatment than the other women.
Is there a place you can get a copy of that? On your Juice Plus site, maybe?
Yes, it should be on the Juice Plus site that I just posted. Absolutely.
Great. Thank you. This was great.
Yes, thank you. Anybody else? All right, well, I'm going to close here. Yes, I will get that to you, Michelle. And I'm going to put my email in here. And if anybody would like that, you can email me for any other information. And with that, I will say thank you so much, everybody, for being here. And I'm going to close out. Oh, Sarah, let me get add your email here. And perfect. Okay. All right, you guys. Thank you so much. And best wishes, prayers go with you. And you can do this. Just hang in there. Okay. All right, ladies.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night.